Have you ever had your own child tell you that after you've spent your whole life saving up for their big day, I just did something no one saw coming? Before we jump in, I want to know where in the world are you right now and what time are you listening? Let me know in the comments. I was fixing the old mower in my backyard when the phone rang. Jason's name lit up the screen. "Dad," he said, his tone careful, rehearsed. "It's better if you don't come to the wedding. Emily doesn't feel comfortable." The mower kept humming beside me. I tightened my grip on the phone. "What do you mean? She just thinks it might be awkward," he rushed on. "You and her never got along, and I don't want tension that day. It's not personal, Dad. It's just easier." I wanted to remind him who had paid for everything, who'd planned each detail. Instead, I said, "If that's what you want." He tried to explain again, but I'd stopped listening. When the call ended, I turned the key, and the mower died. The quiet that followed felt heavier than the noise. The house had been quiet since my wife passed, but this silence felt different, like something had been pulled away without warning. Jason's laughter as a kid drifted through memory-broken bikes, baseball gloves drying by the door. I'd wanted his wedding day perfect. Now I wasn't invited. No message followed. Only a dog barking somewhere down the street. On the fridge, the wedding date circled in blue. I crossed it out. The sound of the pen scratching paper was sharp final. At the table, receipts and vendor lists covered the surface, my handwriting on every one. I gathered them into a stack, wrapped a rubber band around it, and left it there. The next few days moved slowly. I kept my routines, watering plants, checking mail, brief talk with neighbors, but everything sounded louder, as if the house had grown impatient with my quiet. I didn't tell anyone about the call. It stayed lodged somewhere between my ribs. An email from the banquet hall arrived, confirmation of the final payment. My name in bold detached. Balance due. They could use my money without needing me. I stared until the words blurred, then shut the laptop and stepped out. The wind rolled off the river. At the corner store, the cashier grinned. "Big weekend coming, your boy's wedding." I forced a grin back. "Yeah, big day." By the time I got home, the hollowness had returned. The list of vendors still sat on the table, each name one. I'd chosen the caterer, the photographer, the band Emily loved. Every line carried a piece of my effort, and none of it mattered now. My phone buzzed, a text from my sister in Ohio. "You must be so proud." I typed, deleted, and finally wrote, "Yeah, can't wait." Lying was easier than explaining. That evening, I stopped by Maggie's cafe near the river. She looked up as I came in. "You look like someone carrying a secret." "Guess I'm just tired," I said. "Tired looks different," she said, sliding me a cup of coffee. I told her what happened. She listened without flinching, hands steady on the counter. When I finished, she said, "You gave them everything. I thought that's what parents do. And they erased you anyway." Her tone wasn't cruel, just clear. I kept my eyes on the coffee. "What would you do? Stop making it easy for them." Her words followed me home. The house looked the same, clock-ticking, faint smell from the garage, but something in me had shifted. My father had taught me that silence was dignity. Don't argue, don't embarrass the family. Just keep your head down. But maybe time doesn't fix disrespect. Maybe it only gives it roots. The next morning, I went through the bills. Flowers, food, music, decorations, every dollar came from me. The total looked like a monument to foolish loyalty. Jason's voice echoed in memory. "It's better if you don't come." Calm, polite, final. I barely slept that night. Morning came pale. Another email blinked on my screen, menu confirmation for the wedding. I didn't reply. Instead, I took a notepad and began writing names: the restaurant, the photographer, the florist, the band. The pen dug hard into the paper. Not anger. just clarity. A neighbor dropped by to borrow a wrench, talking about his son getting into college. I nodded at the right places, but my thoughts stayed elsewhere on Maggie's words, sharp and steady. Thought about calling Jason, but stopped. He'd just smooth it over again, make it sound reasonable. I folded the list, slid it into my wallet. Just paper, but it steadied me. Morning came slow, heavy with thought. I was halfway through making coffee when my phone buzzed a reminder from the photographer about the final wedding confirmation. My name topped every contract, neat and official. Scrolling through the invoices, I traced the looping E of my name and wondered what happens when the one paying decides not to show up. I shut the phone and listened to the low hum of the fridge, a stillness thick enough to press against. I went for a walk towards the river park. The wind carried the faint sound of a radio playing an old song about losing what you love. 2 teenagers were taking engagement photos under a tree, laughing freely. It stung in a quiet, familiar way. A message from the caterer blinked on my phone. Need final guest count. The cursor blinked back at me like a heartbeat. Maggie's words echoed, "You stop making it easy for them." Back home, I opened the laptop. Every contract bore my name, every cost signed in my hand. The idea arrived small. What if I just didn't confirm anything? Then it grew. What if I took back what was mine, quietly and completely? Dinner went untouched. I sat staring at an old photo of my wife. Her smile calm, her hands clutching flowers we couldn't afford. We'd had nothing but respect, and that had been enough. I wondered when Jason stopped knowing the value of that. The phone rang. "Maggie." "You sound far away," she said. "Just tired. Liar. You ever feel like you raised a stranger? Every parent does," she said. "But you didn't raise him to forget who helped him stand." I hesitated. What do you do when someone draws a line and tells you to stay behind it? Depends on what's on the other side. If it's peace, you stay. If it's your dignity, you cross. After we hung up, I went through the contracts again, highlighting cancellation terms, marking names to call. My pen scratched steady across the paper. There's a calm that comes when waiting ends. I felt it then, quiet, deliberate. I saved each contact number one after another, until they filled my phone. When I finished, I placed the list beneath a paperweight and leaned back. No plan, no fury, just a man reclaiming what had always been his. A week before the wedding, the calls began. Numbers I half recognized, people I'd once written checks to. The florist spoke first, cheerful, until I told her my name. "Just confirming everything's still on schedule for next Saturday." "No," I said evenly. "Cancel the order. I'm retracting the payment." She hesitated. "Are you sure, Mr. Hale?" I'm sure." She said she'd send confirmation. I thanked her and hung up. By noon, 3 more calls were done. The photographer, the band, the caterer. My tone stayed even polite. No reasons, no explanations. When they asked about rescheduling, I answered the same way each time, no, cancel it. The stack of papers on the table thinned. The list of numbers shrank. I tapped the pen against the wood, steady as a metronome. For a second, I wondered how Jason would react when he found out. The thought passed and didn't return. I walked to Maggie's cafe. She spotted me as I came in. "You've got that look again," she said. "What look? The one that says your mind's made up." "Maybe it is." She poured coffee. "So you finally stopped paying for other people's lessons? I'm not sure I ever taught any," I said. "But I'm done sponsoring the class." She smiled. "You ready for what comes with that? Whatever it is, it's mine." We didn't speak much after that. I left a few bills on the counter and stepped into the heat. The rest of the day moved in a rhythm I hadn't felt in years, steady, controlled, deliberate. Each call was another door closing, quiet but final. By sunset, it was all undone. Every deposit returned, every booking erased. What had once been a celebration now existed only on paper. I didn't feel triumphant, only balanced. When Jason's name flashed on the screen, I let it ring until it stopped. The silence that followed felt clean. I went to the garage, turned on the small radio, and let it hum low while I picked up an old wrench. The smell of oil filled the space. A memory surfaced Jason as a kid, grinning through smudged hands, fixing an engine beside me. Back then, we didn't need words. I wondered if he remembered. Maggie called that night. "You did it, didn't you?" "Yeah." "You feel better?" "I feel finished." Sometimes peace looks like ruins before it feels like freedom. Maybe that's what this is. The list still on the table, edges bent where I'd pressed too hard. I folded it, slipped it into a drawer. The house settled around me. Rain began tapping the roof. I opened the back door, letting the sound wash through. No big thoughts, no regret, just the rhythm of it. The phone buzzed again. Jason's name. Then a message, "Dad, something's wrong. Everything's getting canceled." "What did you do?" Read it once, set the phone face down, poured water, and took a sip. The clock ticked over to midnight. I pulled the curtains halfway and reached for the list one last time. The final name sat waiting. I called. The line clicked. "Good evening," I said evenly. "I'd like to confirm the cancellation of one last contract." The person asked for my name. "Edward Hale," I said. "Yes." "That's right." My tone stayed calm, the sound of someone finished with being forgotten. Morning came still, and the phone was already buzzing before the coffee finished brewing. Unknown numbers, one after another. I knew who they were. The caterer spoke first. "Mr. Hale, your son's team says they're waiting, but we just received a cancellation notice under your name. That notice is correct. You're canceling today, the event's in a few hours." "I'm aware," I said, steady. She tried to ask more, but I ended it politely. The photographer called next, panicked. "You can't just pull this, everything's set." "I've handled the payment terms," I replied. "You'll be refunded as agreed." He cursed and hung up. After 5 calls, I muted the phone. The house smelled faintly of toast, the ticking clock louder than usual. No thrill, no regret, just stillness. Like a breath finally released. Sunlight touched the pile of old envelopes on the table, months of planning receipts of a happiness I'd built, but wouldn't attend. I sipped cooling coffee as Jason's name lit the screen. "Dad, what's going on? Everything's canceled. Please call me." I didn't. The mower down the street started up absurdly normal. Near noon, Maggie knocked, holding a paper bag that smelled of cinnamon. "You eating, or just surviving on guilt and caffeine?" "I'm fine," I said. She walked in anyway. Seeing the papers, she only asked, "So you did it? Guess so. They'll come after you for this. They already are. How do you feel?" "I thought I'd be angry," I said. "I'm not." It's like the noise stopped. She poured 2 cups and sat. Sometimes peace sounds like that. Not joy, just quiet. We drank in silence. Then she added, "I once canceled my own wedding." I looked up. "Different reason," she said. "But I remember that feeling, everything spinning while you just want one clear breath. Took years to stop apologizing for it." Her words settled deep. Before leaving, she touched my shoulder. "Don't answer the door for a while." The phone buzzed again, relatives' questions, confusion. I ignored them all. Later, I sat on the porch. The hum of traffic drifted faintly through the heat. My reflection in the window looked older than I remembered. I thought of Jason's face when he told me not to come, how he couldn't meet my eyes. Maybe this was the only language left between us. Consequences, not conversation. The afternoon passed in small motions, tightening a hinge, folding laundry, each task deliberate grounding. Then another voicemail. His voice broke through the speaker, trembling with disbelief. "Dad, you ruined everything. Everyone's here, no food, no band, nothing. Are you trying to humiliate me?" The message ended abruptly. I deleted it. By sunset, the phone had gone quiet. I pictured the chaos miles away, guests waiting, whispers, spreading blame circling. I didn't need to see it. It wasn't mine anymore. Maggie texted, "You," holding up. "Still standing," I wrote. "Good," she replied. "Sometimes that's enough." I poured another coffee into the old, chipped mug I'd kept for years. Its rough handle fit perfectly in my hand. Somewhere down the block, laughter carried from a backyard. It sounded far belonging to another life. The doorbell rang once, then again. I stood, set the cup aside, and went to the door. Through the glass, I saw him, Jason. His shoulders tense. I opened halfway. The space between us felt heavy. "Dad," he said, eyes wide. "What did you do?" He looked at me like I'd become someone else. Jason didn't wait for permission. He pushed past me into the living room, breathing hard. You canceled everything he said, caught between disbelief and rage. "Do you even know what you've done?" I leaned against the wall, hands in my pockets. "I understand perfectly." He stared at me like I'd turned into someone else. "Mom would never have let you do this. Your mother's not here," I said quietly. He started pacing. "People are laughing, Dad. Emily's family is mortified. Guests flew in and now there's nothing. No food, no music, no photos. They think I lied." I almost smiled, not from cruelty, but at the absurdity. "You did lie, just not to them." He stopped. "What's that supposed to mean?" "You told me I wasn't welcome," I said evenly. "Then kept every cent I gave, every contract I signed. You wanted my money, not my presence. That's not fair." Fair. The word cut sharper than I meant. "You call it fairness when you traded your father's dignity for her comfort." He looked down. "You didn't have to humiliate me." "I didn't," I said. "I just stopped paying for the privilege." He opened his mouth, then closed it. Water dripped from his sleeves onto the floor. I gestured toward the kitchen. "Coffee." He blinked. Now. I poured 2 cups. He sat, hands, trembling eyes on the table. "I never meant to hurt you," he muttered. "Emily just thinks you judge her." "Maybe I do," I said. "Not for who she is, but for what she made you forget." "Forget what?" "That respect isn't optional." He rubbed his temples. "I didn't think you'd take it this far. I thought you'd just let it go." "I did," I said, until it started to erase me. He took a sip of coffee and grimaced. It was cold. "People will never forgive this. That's their pride, not mine." His anger drained, leaving something smaller. "I don't know how to fix this." "You don't," I said. "You live with it like I've lived with your silence." He turned toward the window. "They'll say awful things about you." "Let them," I said. "At least it'll be true." We stood in the same room but miles apart. Finally, he said I should go. "Probably best." He paused at the door. "You know I love you, right?" Maybe I said. "But it doesn't look like it." He nodded once and left. The door closed softly. His untouched cup cooled beside mine. I called Maggie. She picked up. "So the storm finally hit something like that. And I'm still standing." "That's something. You want me to come by? No. I need to sit with this one alone." "All right. Call if the walls start talking back." When I hung up, the house smelled faintly of coffee and rain. I wiped the puddle where he'd stood, each motion smoothing what felt jagged. I noticed the list on the counter creased and smudged. Folded it once more, slipped it into my wallet. 2 days passed before anyone reached out. The phone stayed quiet, the kind of silence that lingers after a storm when people are still measuring what's left. I kept busy fixing small things. A leaky faucet loose hinges the porch cluttered with leaves. The motions steadied my hands, if not my thoughts. On the third evening, a letter arrived, Jason's handwriting on the envelope. It twisted something in my chest. I left it unopened until night. When I finally read it, there were only 3 lines. I don't know how to make this right. Emily's gone to her parents. Everyone's blaming me. I wish you'd called before you did it. No apology, no anger, just confusion. I folded it and slipped it into the drawer with the rest of what I no longer wanted to carry. Maggie arrived the next morning without calling, groceries in hand. "You look like caffeine and guilt," she said, setting down bread. I ran out of guilt, I told her. Caffeine's holding steady. She laughed, then hesitated. "Jason came by the cafe last night." My hand stopped moving. Didn't order anything? Just stood there like he'd forgotten how to speak. What did he want to know if you were okay? He could have asked me. Maybe he's not ready to hear the answer, she said softly. We ate quietly. Before leaving, she touched my hand. "You did what you had to do. Don't let anyone rewrite that." Later, I drove into town, with no plan, just motion. At the gas station, I noticed Jason's old blue sedan idling across the road. I crossed over. He rolled it down halfway. "Dad." "You following me now?" I asked. "I was going to come by," he said. "Didn't know if you'd answer. Planning to keep driving circles till I do." He exhaled. "I don't even know where to start. Start with the truth." He stared ahead. "Everyone hates me. Emily's parents said I should have known better. Her mom called me spineless. Maybe she's right," I said, not unkindly. He didn't argue. I thought I was keeping peace. I thought if I made everyone happy, it'd work itself out. That's what I used to think I said. It didn't. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I know I said. You just didn't mean not to." That landed between us quiet but heavy. "Do you hate me?" he asked. "No, but I don't trust you yet." He nodded. "That's fair." Engines and tires murmured on the wet road. "Go home, Jason," I said. "Figure out who you are without anyone telling you." He nodded again, started the car, and left. Watched until the taillights vanished. The gas pump clicked. I'd forgotten to finish fueling. Back home, the house felt lighter, as if air could move again. Pulled his letter from the drawer, read it once more, then tore it in half. I thought of calling Maggie, but she'd know I was all right. The world went on steady, indifferent. I listened to it until it blended with my breathing. 3 weeks later, a letter waited in my mailbox, Emily's handwriting, neat and deliberate. For a moment, I considered tossing it, but curiosity won. She said she hadn't slept since the wedding. Her parents blamed me for the embarrassment, Jason for not stopping it. She claimed she never meant to exclude me, only wanted peace, and feared my strong presence might disturb it. The words were polished an apology that asked for understanding without humility. At the end, she wrote, "You should have come anyway. Maybe we could have found a middle ground." I folded the letter until it fit in my palm. Guilt that arrives too late doesn't land. It just drifts, searching for a place that's gone. I didn't write back. Instead, trimmed the overgrown hedges. The clippers clicked, steady, sharp, drowning thought. Sweat gathered under my collar, heat pressing down. By noon, Maggie pulled up, leaning against her old truck. "You hiding behind that bush forever? Keep showing up like this? I said the neighbors will think we're dating." She grinned. "Might help your reputation." We sat on the porch, passing a bottle of lemonade. The heat slowed everything. "You hear from Jason?" "Not since the letter. He came by the cafe again. Didn't talk. Just sat there. That sounds like him. You gonna reach out?" "Not yet." "Why?" Because every word would sound like a lesson, and I'm tired of teaching. She nodded quiet. A bee drifted near the railing, the only movement between us, drove north with no plan. Fields slid past barns, fading into the sun, something in me easing like a knot, finally giving way. At a roadside diner, an old man mentioned his son who'd moved away. Distance turns pride into loneliness before you notice, he said. I told him I knew. On the drive back, a family unloaded groceries light, arguing easy laughter arms full of life. No envy this time, only recognition. Every family hides its own wreckage. Ours just cracked where others couldn't see. Home waited in its usual stillness. Jason's jacket hung by the chair. A receipt slipped from the pocket coffee gum dated a week after the wedding. I folded it, set it aside. Later I called Maggie. You think forgiveness is supposed to feel good? It doesn't, she said. It just lets you breathe again. Then maybe I'm halfway there. Halfway's not a bad place to rest. After we hung up, I went to the garage to fix the neighbor's mower, more for the rhythm than the result. Worked until my shoulders burned, grease under my nails, the smell of oil and damp wood thick in the room. Leaning against the bench, I caught my wife's photo taped to the wall, her small smile patient and amused. I'm trying, I said to her, or maybe to myself. The light flickered once. I shut it off and stood in the dark, breathing steady. Thunder rolled faintly somewhere far off. Before heading in, I sat on the steps. Night felt cooler, sweet, with wet grass. Emily's line about middle ground came back to me. There was none, only what remained and what I chose to carry forward. A week later, Jason's voicemail came short, hesitant. He wanted to talk not about blame or the wedding, just talk. I didn't call back. Let the words sit. When I opened the door, he stood there with 2 takeout bags from the Chinese place we used to visit. I didn't know what you like anymore, he said, awkward smile tugging. Neither do I. I stepped aside. We ate at the kitchen table, avoiding each other's eyes. He kept glancing around, the same clock, the same mugs, the same quiet. After a few bites, he said Emily moved out, staying with her sister in San Diego. I nodded. She said she needs time, doesn't know who she married anymore. Maybe she's right. His voice wavered. I wanted to say something kind, but nothing fit. I pushed the carton toward him. Eat. He gave a small, brittle laugh. You haven't changed. I did, I said. You just weren't looking. He set his fork down. You think I deserved what happened? It's not about deserve. You made a choice. I made mine. He rubbed the back of his neck. I thought I was protecting her. I didn't realize I was betraying you. Betrayal's a heavy word, I said. But it fits. Leaning forward, he added, when you canceled everything I told myself, you were cruel. But I knew you could. I just didn't think you would. You didn't believe I had limits. He nodded. Guess not. The smell of cold noodles lingered between us. He looked smaller than I remembered, like the years had folded in on themselves. I don't know how to fix this. Maybe you don't, I said. You learn and move forward. He rubbed his eyes. Can I still come by sometimes? Come by, I said. Just don't expect it to feel the same. He nodded. At the door, he turned. Dad, I'm sorry for all of it. I know. But sorry isn't the same as change. He didn't argue, just left. I watched the taillights fade, no anger, this time only acceptance. Later I washed the dishes. The sound of water filled the spaces his words left behind. I thought of him as a boy kneeling by the garage grease on his hands, full of questions. Somewhere along the way, questions turned into assumptions. I dried my hands and stepped onto the porch. The night hummed with crickets. His message echoed faintly in my head. Not about blame, just talk. Maybe that was all he had left, and maybe that was enough. The next morning, Maggie called. "Heard your boy showed up." "He did. And we talked. Sort of. Sort of's better than nothing," she said. "Words leave room for change." "I'm not sure I'm ready." "Doesn't matter," she said. "Change doesn't wait for permission." That night I sat on the porch again, thought about Jason's face when he said he didn't know how to fix things, the man who'd stopped waiting to be seen. They didn't feel like enemies anymore, just two people trying to find where love ends and self-respect begins. Jason came again the next weekend. No warning, no food, no polite mask. He looked drawn, sleepless, and asked, "Can we talk?" I nodded. "We always can." He walked in, eyes catching on the photo from the garage. "I remember that day," he said. "You yelled at me for dropping a wrench. I didn't yell," I said. "I told you to pay attention. Same difference." He smiled faintly. "I guess I never liked being corrected." "That's obvious," I said, not unkindly. He sat down at the table, hands clasped. "I talked to Emily last night. She wants a divorce." The words landed between us without sound. "I told her I couldn't keep pretending," he said. "She said I chose you over her. You didn't choose me," I said. "You chose the truth." It just hurt her. He nodded, movement heavy. Didn't realize how much damage one decision could cause. "You were right. Pride fixes nothing. It just fills the room till no one can breathe." He twisted his wedding ring. "Do you think she's right to leave?" "She's doing what she thinks she has to," I said. "Maybe you should too figure out who you are without someone telling you." He slipped off the ring and set it on the table. "I don't even know who that is." "Start by being honest," I said. "With yourself first." He gave a thin laugh. "You make it sound simple." "It isn't. But it's the only thing that ever works." The clock ticked refrigerator, humming softly. He kept staring at his hands as if they could explain him. "I keep thinking about that call before the wedding," he said. "Thought I was doing the right thing, keeping peace, making Emily happy. I thought you'd understand." "I did," I said. "That's why I didn't fight you." "Then why cancel everything?" "Because I needed you to understand what peace costs when it's built on someone else's silence." He nodded slowly. "And now you've got your peace." "Not quite," I said. "Peace isn't revenge, it's just the end of noise." He exhaled hard. "Guess I had to lose everything to learn. That's how most of us learn." He looked up, eyes rimmed red. "You're not going to say I told you so, are you? No. You already did." Almost smiled at that. He stood. "I should go. I need to figure out what's next." "Good," I said. "Do it for the right reasons this time." He reached for the ring, hesitated, left it. "Keep it. Maybe it'll remind you I finally grew up. Maybe it'll remind me you tried." The door closed softly behind him. I poured a glass of water and sat back down. The ring caught the light too smooth for what it represented. The phone buzzed. A text from Maggie Heard he's back around. "You okay? Yeah. He's figuring things out." Her reply came quick. "Good. So are you?" I set the phone down and turned the ring in my fingers before dropping it into the drawer, not to hide, just to put away. When the street went still again, looked at my hands, faint grease under the nails, the day's work clinging there. Work keeps you steady when everything else shifts. The quiet after Jason left stayed longer than I expected. I didn't try to fill it. Work helped. I took small repair jobs around the neighborhood fences, pipes the easy kind that keep your hands busy while your mind drifts. Maggie showed up one afternoon with sandwiches wrapped in wax paper. "Looks like you're keeping busy," Maggie said, watching me hammer a loose board into place. "Busy's easier than still." She brushed crumbs from her jeans. "You heard from him. Not since last week. You gonna call when I know what to say? You might never know," she said. "Say it anyway." She finished her sandwich, waved once, and drove off. The yard felt smaller without her voice in it. That evening, sorting bills, a text appeared from an unknown number. "This is Emily. Can we talk?" I stared at it, then called. "Mr. Hale." "Yes." "I know this is strange," she said, steady but tight. "I wanted to apologize. For what? For everything. I thought you were trying to control him. I didn't see how much he looked up to you. I was protecting him," I said. "I know that now. But I didn't let him see it." The line went quiet, except for wind. "I'm sorry," she said. "Not for forgiveness, just because I can't carry it anymore." "You don't owe me that," I said. "But thank you." "He's hurting," she said softly. "He finally understands. I thought you should know." "I appreciate that." We ended it there, no promises, no talk of starting over. It was enough. Later, Jason showed up again, tired but lighter. He placed a paper bag on the counter. "Thought you might be hungry." "What's in it, chili?" "From that place you used to take me and Mom." I smiled faintly. "You remembered. You never forget what makes you feel safe." We ate quietly. Midway through, he said, "I talked to Emily." "I know she called you." "She did. She told me what she said. I figured." He hesitated. "You were right about how I let people steer my life. It was easier than disappointing them." "Knowing it's easy," I said. "Doing something about it isn't." He looked down. "I filed for divorce. Feels like failure." "It's not," I said. "It's honesty, and that's harder. Maybe I'll see it that way someday." We finished eating. When I gathered the plates, he stopped me. "Dad, I'm sorry. Not just for the wedding, for treating your patience like weakness." "You were young," I said. "You thought love meant agreement. I thought it meant not making anyone uncomfortable." "That's close," I said. "Just not enough." He stood, came around the table, and hugged me. Not the polite kind, the kind that carries years. I didn't move until he stepped back. At the door, I said, "You know where I am." "I do," he said. "And this time I won't forget." When the door closed, the house felt less hollow. In the garage, the bench was cluttered, tools scattered. I wiped each wrench slow and steady. At the back sat Jason's old toolbox initials scratched into the lid. Inside, a few rusted nails, a screwdriver, and a folded note I'd written years ago. "Don't rush to grow up. Some things deserve time." I'd forgotten it existed. The paper was yellowed, the ink faint. Slipped it into my pocket. Some things don't need reading to be remembered. I thought of Emily's call, Jason's hug, and how endings rarely announce themselves. They soften until they turn into beginnings. Morning came. I went to the garage. The toolbox was open, tools scattered. I cleaned them one by one until I realized the weight I'd carried was lighter. Not peace yet, just space for it. Maggie showed up with 2 coffees. "You're out again," she said. "Always." She sat on the stool. "You look lighter." Jason came by. We talked. She nodded. "Strange, isn't it, when the storm passes and you're still standing? Strange but good. Most folks stay mad forever. I tried that once. Didn't fit." We watched dust drift in sunlight. Somewhere a mower hummed. "You ever think about moving?" she asked. "No. History's part of the place." "Fair enough," she said, and left. I stayed a while sorting bolts into jars. Then I drove, no plan, just the road. Fields stretched green after the dry months. Old barns leaned like tired men still holding on. At a rest stop, a family picnicked by the lake. Kids ran in circles, their laughter sharp in the wind. I watched, understanding, not envy. Happiness doesn't stay. It visits. My phone buzzed. Found an apartment near the shop. "Thanks for last night. Jason." "Proud of you. Don't forget to eat," I wrote. He sent a thumbs up. I laughed. On the drive back, I turned off the radio, let the wind do the talking. The house smelled faintly of chili. On the table, Jason's ring and my old note caught the last light. I turned the ring once in my hand, then set it in a tin box with keys and coins. The call came early. Maggie's tone was brisk. "Come to the shop? Jason's here." I grabbed my jacket and drove through a pale sky just waking. Jason's truck sat crooked in the lot. Maggie nodded from behind the counter, then disappeared into the back. "Emily called," he said when I sat down. "She's filing the papers," I figured. "She says she can't forgive me for embarrassing her family, for letting things fall apart." And she's right. I let a lot fall apart. But I'm done apologizing for what wasn't mine alone to fix. It was the first time his voice sounded like his own. I took a sip of his coffee, cold bitter. "You're learning to stand still in the fire," I said. He met my eyes. "You think that's what this is? It's part of it." He almost smiled. "How do you stay calm when everything breaks?" "Calm isn't peace," I said. "It's just where you wait for peace to find you." He stared at the window. "I used to think you were cold," he said. "That you didn't care." "I cared," I said. "I just stopped letting people see it." He nodded. "Guess that's what I need to learn." "Maybe. But don't mistake silence for strength. Sometimes you've got to speak even if no one's listening." Something in him eased. "You're better at this than I thought. I've had more time to practice." He laughed once, then sighed. "Part of me still wants to fix things with her." "That part doesn't die," I said. "You just stop feeding it." He nodded. "I kept thinking if I gave enough, kept the peace, it'd get easier. But it only made me disappear." "I know," I said. "That's a pain that doesn't scream, it erases. I don't want to live like that anymore." "Then don't." The cafe began to fill. Maggie brought fresh coffee, touched his shoulder, then walked away. "I should head out," he said. "Where to nowhere far? Maybe the lake. Good place for thinking." He pulled a small envelope from his pocket. "This is for you. Open it later." Then he hugged me, solid, unguarded. "I'll call. I'll answer." When he left, I opened the envelope. A note. "Thank you for teaching me how to stop apologizing for existing." Beneath it, a check for the amount I'd spent on the wedding. It wasn't the money that mattered. It was the line. For once, he'd understood what I never had to say. Later, I drove to the lake. His truck was parked near the edge. He stood skipping stones across still water. I didn't get out. Some things need their own silence. When he turned back to leave, he passed me without seeing, eyes steady, face calm. Driving home, I took the long way through town. Everything looked the same, but something in me had shifted. The anger was gone, burned out, leaving only quiet. A month passed before I realized I'd stopped waiting for the phone to ring. The habit wore out quietly like an old engine running dry. Most mornings began the same coffee, a short walk, small repairs. The days weren't empty, just uncomplicated. Jason showed up one afternoon in paint-stained jeans. "Got a new job," he said. "Small construction company. Nothing big, but steady." "Steady's good," I said. "The world's built on steady." He grinned. "You sound like Maggie. She's smarter than she looks." He laughed, glancing around the living room. "You've been fixing things again. Can't help it. Something breaks, I mend it. Keeps my mind quiet." He nodded. "Emily called," he said. "Wanted to know if I'd signed the papers. I told her yes. How'd that feel? Like closing a door that should have been shut long ago." I said nothing. Some truths don't need replies. He stayed for dinner. We ate in easy quiet. When he left, he took the ring from the counter. "Thanks," he said. I just nodded. The door closed soft behind him. I watered the plants. The hose hissed soil, darkened. That old smell of damp earth rose steady and calm. Small things keep growing without apology. The next morning, I went to Maggie's cafe. She was rewriting the chalkboard menu, cinnamon in the air. "Well, look who decided to join the living," she said. "I needed coffee that doesn't taste like regret." She laughed. "How's the boy working?" "Trying. That's all anyone can do. Try, fail, fix, repeat." She poured me a cup. "You look different." "How so?" "Like a man who stopped waiting for the next punch." I think the fight ran out of me. "Good. Now you can live." I stayed watching people move through their day, couples, workers, a mother with kids. Ordinary life used to feel distant. Now it felt like rhythm. The world hadn't changed. I had. When I left, Maggie handed me a small brown bag. "Banana bread," she said. "You look like someone who needs something soft." "You're not wrong." At home, the house felt warmer. The tin box still sat on the counter. Inside Jason's note, old receipts, a key I didn't recognize, probably from a door that no longer existed. I put it back and ate the banana bread. Sweet, simple, forgiving. Evening came quiet. Kids played down the street, a sprinkler ticking steady. I thought about how things fall apart to make room for what comes next. Jason rebuilding Emily, finding her distance. Maggie reminding me peace doesn't arrive like thunder. It seeps in slow and sure. My phone buzzed. A text from Jason Dinner. "Sunday, my place. I'll bring dessert," I typed. He replied with a thumbs up. I chuckled. Some habits survive everything. Sunday, I drove to Jason's new place with a pie Maggie had baked that morning. The road curved through a quiet neighborhood, front yards, small kids' bikes left on lawns. His house sat near the end of the block, modest but clean paint, still fresh. He opened the door before I could knock. "You're early," he said, smiling like someone relearning how. "Old habits," I said, handing him the pie. He set it on the counter. "You didn't have to bring anything." "I know. But it's rude to show up empty-handed." The kitchen smelled faintly of tomato sauce. Pots covered the stove cabinets, half open. "You're cooking." "Trying," he said. No promises. The place was small, bare, but honest, like someone building from the ground up. "Need help. Cut the bread," he said, passing me a knife. "Just don't critique the rest." We worked side by side. He stirred sauce. I hacked the loaf unevenly. We talked about work weather, a busted car part, nothing that hurt, nothing that required fixing. When dinner was ready, we ate across from each other. The food was two salty edges burnt. I cleaned my plate anyway. "Not bad," I said. "You're lying." "Maybe, but you'll get better." He laughed. Emily used to say that. I didn't answer. Some memories deserve quiet. After dinner, we sat on the porch. The smell of wet pavement lingered, crickets humming steady. "I used to think success was people being proud of me," he said. "Now it's just standing in my own house and not feeling like a stranger. That's about right." He turned the thought over. "I don't know how long it'll take, but I want to get there." "You will," I said. "You're closer than you think." He hesitated. "That day at the cafe, I almost didn't come in. I sat in the truck 20 minutes. Why, I didn't know if you'd open the door. I let that sit. You're my son." The door was never the problem. He looked up, eyes bright but steady. "You still mean that? Always." He exhaled. "When you canceled the wedding, I thought you were cruel. Now I think maybe you just couldn't watch me lose myself." "It wasn't easy," I said. "I know. But I get it now. You weren't punishing me. You were stopping me. Sometimes the kindest thing is to do nothing," I said. He smiled faintly. "You've always been better at hard lessons." "Not always. Took me long enough to learn this one?" A car passed, headlights sliding across the porch, then gone. "You want coffee?" he asked. "Sure." He came back with 2 mugs and sat beside me. "You ever think about Mom every day?" I said. "Not always the same way." "I've been dreaming about her," he said. "Just simple things, her cooking, laughing, asking if I've eaten. That sounds like her. He chuckled. She'd tell us both to stop being stubborn. She did, I said. You wish she were here? Maybe. But I think she'd like the view. He smiled. I'm glad you came, Dad. Me too. We stayed there until the coffee went cold. Then I stood. I should head home before the rain starts. At the car, he said, You know, I thought the day you canceled everything was the worst day of my life. Turns out it was the one that started saving it. I didn't answer. He didn't need me to. He waved once as I pulled away barefoot on the porch light, spilling behind him. Back home, I set the empty pie dish on the counter. The clock ticked softly. I poured a glass of water, leaned against the sink, and felt the house around me solid, calm enough. For once, I didn't feel the need to fix anything. The quiet wasn't heavy anymore. It belonged. I rinsed the dish, turned off the lights, and walked toward the bedroom as rain thickened on the roof, steady cleansing marking the start of another ordinary day waiting its turn.